Honorable Chair, Commissioners, and Elders of this land, we come not only to acknowledge what is already known, but to help restore what has long remained unspoken. This is a presence rooted in reverence and responsibility. Together with the city of Burnaby, we seek to align the civic record with the truth carried for over a century in Ardaas. In 1914, a ship arrived in these shores. Its earlier names, Stubenhook, Cecilia, Komagata Maru, were entries in colonial corporate ledgers. But the name we carried in prayer, the name that flew with the Nishan Sahib, the name blessed by Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji, where we read Bani, held Akhand Paths, and served Langar in Pangat, was Guru Nanak Jahaz. It was leased by 60,000 by our Guru Nanak Steamship Company. It was the first floating Gurdwara Sahib to bless the Pacific, named and funded by Baba Gurdish Singh and the Punjabi passengers, and sanctified by the presence of Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji, later renamed Hiya Maru and eventually dismantled. The ship itself was lost, but the name Guru Nanak Jahaz lives on in our Ardaas and memory. Yet today some plaques continue to use the name Komagata Maru, a gesture we are told reflect reconciliation. Let us reflect together. We are not asking Burnaby to apologize for 1914. We are inviting Burnaby to help speak the truth in 2025. With deep reverence and humility, and I repeat, with deep reverence and humility, I share these examples not to compare suffering, but to illustrate how remembrance honors human courage and dignity, not the method of transport. When respected Jews were taken to Auschwitz, they endured unimaginable pain aboard Deutsche Reichsbahn Class 50 and Class 52 trains. Yet we do not call the Holocaust by the name of the train. We remember the people, the suffering, and their resistance. When enslaved Africans were forced across the Atlantic on ships such as La Amistad, the Brooks, and the Jesus of Lubeck, we remember their humanity, their resistance, and the injustice, not the names of those ships. When Columbus arrived on the Nina, the Pinta, the Santa Maria, we remember the consequences of colonization on indigenous people, not the ship names. We do not equate these history with our own. We honor them with humility. But we share this. History remembers the struggles, not the vessel. But in our case, the inverse happened. Our elders, Punjabis of many faiths, Sikhs, Hindus, and Muslims, sailed in resistance. They challenged exclusion, confronted racism, and carried forward the dream of a better future. And yet, all that is remembered is a Japanese colonial corporate name drafted in a Hong Kong boardroom, never spoken in a single Ardaas. The Sangat forgotten, the Ardaas erased, Guru Granth Sahib Ji unmentioned, the 60,000 lease ignored, the Guru Nanak Steamship Company omitted, the bullets we took upon returning to British India while trying to place Guru Granth Sahib Ji in a local Gurdwara Sahib buried. We died in Chardi Kala, and today we offered a plaque that speaks only of our denial, not of our divinity. The British suppressed the name Guru Nanak Jahaz because they feared its spiritual defiance. Over 300,000 Punjabis, many of them Sikhs, boarded British ships to defend the crown, while 377 passengers aboard Guru Nanak Jahaz were denied entry. I have brought these medals awarded to Sikh soldiers, Punjabi soldiers who served in world wars, men who bled for the crown, while being denied entry by the very system they protected. Let us honor them not with the tokenism, but with truth. Even some movements of the era focus on other ideals, erase this name, because its spiritual dimension transcends their framework. Two forces that agreed on almost nothing shared a silence. Neither wanted the name Guru Nanak Jahaz to surface, because when that name surfaces, we remember who we are. And to the descendants of those who traveled aboard Guru Nanak Jahaz, we say with care, our ancestors carried more than their hopes. They carried our collective prayer. Let us remember not only the injustice they faced, but the sacred legacy they protected. Guru Nanak Jahaz was not just a ship, it was a sanctuary at the sea. We have submitted 3 formal resolutions. The city of Vancouver have already acted. Guru Nanak Jahaz is now the primary designation in their civic records. They did not add it as an option. They restored it as a truth. We now invite Burnaby to take the same courageous steps. And I place a question before you. Will Burnaby remember the name of that history suppressed or preserve the name that colonial empire assigned? This story did not end at the shore. It began there and it is still sailing. Together we can ensure that future generations inherit not just a story of exclusion, but a civic record of integrity. We ask Burnaby to restore the rightful name, to retire symbolic gestures that retain colonial framing, and to educate the public with the spiritual depth and accuracy this history deserves. If Burnaby motto is by river and sea, rise Burnaby, then let us remember that same sea once carried a Gurdwara Sahib, the same sea was blessed with Ardaas, and that same sea now waits for the Burnaby to rise, not in tradition, but in truth. May Waheguru bless Des Punjab, may Waheguru bless the Musqueam, Squamish, Tsleil-Waututh, and Kwikwetlem nations. May Waheguru bless our strong, united Canada as we stand on guard for thee. Waheguru Ji Ka Khalsa, Waheguru Ji Ki Fateh. And thank you for the time.
Thank you very much for that presentation.